Now, this is why I wrote my friends into a war movie podcast where I do all the work. They show up and record, and then I go and spend 8 hours editing while they say thank you. So, it's the closing days of the European theater. Nazis will lose. Always. The Americans are steamrolling over German borders. The Germans want to blow up the Bridge at Remagen to slow down Allied advancement. The US higher-ups don't care about the bridge until they do. Meanwhile, soldiers on both sides just want the foregone conclusion to conclude. Why won't the Nazis give up? Because they'll be shot as traitors if they don't get out there and get shot by Allied forces. The US tip-of-the-spear troops are exhausted by being a continuous tip of the spear. They make tactical mistakes while the Nazis are out of just about everything. Everyone's making moral compromises they'll think about for the rest of their life, if they can just survive until the end. I'm sorry, the reinforcements are not coming. All you have is 2 dads, a disabled pedant who will never finish their self-assigned reading, and industrial, not even military-grade jokes. Today on Hinge Problems, the Bridge at Remagen.
Totally scarring war movies.
You know, well, it's talking to a podiatrist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald is dead.
Norm Macdonald is dead.
He's dead. Yeah.
Hinge problems.
That's the only joke word for a while. Anyways, welcome to Hinge Problems. I'm Rudy.
I'm Chris.
I'm Tigress.
It's me, Shrug. And those men are so tired they'll kill us.
Friends, I begin to think that maybe war is bad for everyone involved.
No way. Nah.
Just based off this project, I don't know. I've come to this new conclusion. Maybe all war movies are anti-war movies, huh?
So I just want to run something by y'all. Are you familiar with this with a mythological concept in a number of religions called hell, which is generally considered a place of suffering and torment? It's an obscure concept. You may not have heard of it. I'm beginning to think war is a lot like that place.
No
Wow.
way.
Yeah.
Whoa,
No.
okay. Wow.
Ooh, hot take.
Yeah.
Hot. I don't know.
This
how
was
to
a good
handle
movie.
that.
This was a good movie after MacArthur.
Oh, poof.
Yeah.
It was an amazing movie after MacArthur. Jeez.
Solid.
Jeez, yeah. Also, this is a fucking war movie. All capital letters. That was a movie, and there was war in it. Like, fuck. There were
A lot of
tanks.
war.
Do you see all the tanks?
Lot of tanks.
Lot
I was
of
amazed by
tanks.
that, actually. Yeah, there were a lot of tanks
tanks
rolling in there.
The tanks are. I had to admit, as a mechanical war machine geek, fictional or real, they were really cool to see, even if they're horrible machines of destruction, which is the paradox of being me.
Like even if the footage was for some reason double speed, which doesn't seem like it needed because they're really hauling ass.
Yeah.
They were. At the beginning of the movie, I was just like, good lord, look at them go.
Yeah, I was like, do tanks actually go that fast?
They don't go. There was. I don't remember where I read it, but the author of the book that this movie is based on said that the tanks would not have done that. This is not a thing that would happen, but I understand why they wanted to start things off really fast and pull you into the action, so I don't mind. They were probably over cranking, though, or under cranking, though, so they were moving even faster as they booked it along the side of the Rhine in order to get to a bridge just before it blew up, while exchanging artillery fire at speed.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And then you go, wow, they really did blow up a bridge. That's not a model. That's a full bridge that they just destroyed. Sorry, fish.
Like the whole scale of this movie was, especially after watching even like Saving Private Ryan, which people were all about, like, oh, look at the scale of the beach landing, all this stuff. I was really impressed by the scale of this movie. I was like, wow, they're just blowing buildings up. Like, that's not a model, that's a building that just got blown up. Wow.
Well, you know the deal there, right?
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
look
yeah.
at the deal? Okay, so the deal there is the production company bought a Czechoslovakian mining town that was already condemned. So they got free reign to blow up whatever they wanted.
They used it. They used it a lot.
And like the audacious wide shots of like, yeah, we're gonna have 70 extras here. I know this is just a Nazi going to a building to get some papers, but we're definitely gonna have this exterior shot where we have 50 people in uniform marching through towns and flowing swastikas to let you know this is Nazi Germany.
Got a lot of Nazis here. A lot of Nazis. Just in this shot, though. They're not really a lot of Nazis in the rest of the movie. But in here, in this one segment where he's going to the Nazi base, there's a lot of Nazis.
Deck extras were probably pretty cheap,
What we in the business call a mixed fruit pudding.
especially in 1969.
Yeah, right down to it being evidence that America was about to invade Czechoslovakia, according
Yeah.
to Soviet propaganda.
Decontextualized images of movie props used as justification for invading the decadent republic to put it under direct Soviet rule, causing the
fair,
production to flee
To be
and
fair,
finish the movie elsewhere.
I've read about some shit the CIA has done over the years.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, America sucks too. I think we can. I think we can take that as like a given, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to state it, but America is also bad.
Oh
No,
yeah, no. My specific thing here is just like that particular era of the U.S. government was definitely had an unusual level of spy versus spy bullshit going on, like
Yeah.
even more than later, which is impressive because it never really stopped. But like, yeah, that's sort of the height of that kind of thing.
I have more to say that's related to this, but I don't want to say it yet.
Okay.
Thrilling preview. Not thrilling at all preview.
Or
I mean, back to like how this film is audacious. Like after that Nazi shot, then we get to see our beautiful line of tanks again, and then oh no, it turns out it's either a dolly or a helicopter shot, and let's go over this forest to reveal a giant Allied encampment, and then let's just zoom in all the way to a table so a general can once again state the film, which I actually kind of love that we get both sides stating the film.
Yeah, they've got the big crane shot where they like don't even have the lens to do it because it has a pretty whatever they were using had a pretty shallow focal like depth. So fuck it, we're gonna have the big wide shot anyway. We're gonna go straight down and do a close up, and then you'll get your focus. No one will notice except extreme weirdos. in 70 years or something.
A big vibe that the two different sort of introductions had was it reminded me of like starting both campaigns on like a Command and Conquer game, and you get like both sides giving you the like perspective on the campaign before it starts.
I mean, much also like Command and Conquer. This also has British guys playing Germans that just eventually give up on the German part.
Yeah, that's fair.
The accents were hilarious. I mean, and then to confound the accent thing even further, and this is jumping way ahead in the movie from where we are, but near the end, they start talking German at one point. Like,
oh, do they? Is there a German?
Yeah, because it's implying they were speaking German the entire time, but now that we have the American perspective, they can hear the German.
Yeah, it's just really funny because just out of nowhere, like once the Americans and the Germans are like talking to each other, one of the Germans turns around to talk to someone else and yells something in German. And I had the subtitles turned on because I have to watch things quiet because my kid will wake up. And yeah, it just said, speaking in German. I'm like, what? Now you're going to use German. Now you're going to bother doing that.
Sergeant starts yelling for everyone to come out after he surrenders.
Yeah.
In German.
It's weird, especially after we've had a whole movie full of British guys that aren't even trying to do German accents at a certain point. They're just like,
Robert Vaughn was doing something.
He was trying, yeah.
I don't know if I would call it an accent. I think he was just drunk.
I mean, they I think they had the like one actual German dude who was an SS officer, the guy who was played by the same dude who played Slugworth, or well, the guy impersonating Slugworth.
The one who yelled German is a German.
Oh, he is.
Hans Christian Bleck, who is known for doing many films where he played a Nazi.
Yeah,
As you do.
well, I mean, this all brings something I was thinking about a lot, which is how much this movie really has like two perspectives on this conflict, and and for really wants to have the Nazis seem kind of sympathetic, and at times at least have a few of the Nazis feel more sympathetic in the context of this film and not reality, because in reality they were all fucking Nazis who did horrible things. Then the Allies, as like it's then like the Americans specifically, because there's really only Americans in this movie, and doing this thing where the Americans are more overtly asshole-ish than the Nazis are in this film, and just
they have more opportunities to be overtly asshole.
Oh yeah, but you know, like the film is kind of engineered that way.
I mean, even like immediately after World War II, is like there's this engineering of trying to like, well, let's look at the actual leader of the Allied forces in the real campaign, the Bridge at Remagen, whose dad in the occupational force of Germany in World War One abandoned his post to knock up this small town German mom and then take her back to Nebraska.
100 miles away from the bridge at Remagen.
100 miles away from the bridge.
Yeah.
And then that boy growing up as an American, but of two German descendants, and then trying to reclaim the honor of the American military honor that his father had lost by being dishonorably discharged.
So was that dude in the movie then?
George Siegel's character is based on it. The lieutenant is based on him. The real guy would go on to die of testicular cancer in 1951, after re-enlisting as a sergeant to fight in Korea. So apparently he was really into the fighting of wars thing.
This is tangential film, but I think it's worth discussing. Like, it gets lost that there's so much white German identity in America, and hey, America had a lot of Nazi sympathizers. That there is the constant revisionist of even just post World War II of like not just saying that like, you know, some of the Germans were just following orders, and you know they just love their country and nationalism, and they just didn't like the guy in charge, right? They just didn't like the guy in charge.
But
they still love their country.
I'd kind of like to talk about, like, there's an obvious parallelism that's set up between the American lieutenant that ends up leading all the infantry stuff, taking the bridge, and Major Kruger, of all things, Robert Vaughn's character. They're both depicted as being probably basically decent people who are caught up in like a machine. They're caught in a system, and the system that is the military in the execution of a war is forcing them to do certain things, and obviously having certain effects on their, like, to paint with a really broad brush, you know, how humane they are, right? And it's manifested in George Siegel as he's constantly exhausted, he's extremely cynical. He talks about he gets his command during the movie because the guy just above him was a little too overeager to take point and hits an anti-tank mine in his Jeep and blows up. And there's a fucking button that's hit, or a note that's hit a few times of he doesn't have any friends because, as you know, as an officer, he's isolated. And you can tell he has a rapport with his men. He cares about them, but ultimately he's always isolated. And this is...
He is set up that I think his commanding officer wasn't his commanding officer until 2 days ago. I think the command... They've had a lot of leaders. It's strongly implied they've had a lot of their leaders killed, and they've gotten a lot of field promotions in the last few days.
Yeah.
And you said about the point. When I rewatched it to take a few more notes last night. I mean, the film opens with Phil Hartman had been running point,
Hmm.
and they had just lost two dudes, and that Hartman and Angelo just kind of have to take the command because everyone above them died.
Yeah. He stops to check something out, right?
Yeah,
There's a thing up the road, there's the turn, I don't know, we're gonna check it out. And his immediate CO drives up and says, well, fuck you, I'll take point. And he drives on ahead and he dies.
it gives you that beautiful wide shot and lets you, the audience, go, yeah, that looks suspicious as hell.
And there's the scene when they go into the abandoned town and they end up holding up in the jail, and they have the whole sequence with the French woman who had been with the German soldier, then been captured, and who just sort of gets passed around. And you're like, I really don't want this movie to turn into a series of sexual crimes. And she finally winds up like the lieutenant tries to get rid of her, but she like holes up in his room and surprises him there, and she's like, look, give me cigarettes and I'll sleep with you. Like this really totally cold, depressing, stark look. I know this is totally transactional, and he just sort of seems to accept it, like, okay, whatever. Like she's attached himself to, the person in charge, no doubt, as a mechanism to keep herself from, being
Right.
raped. Yeah, war, man. But then in the case of Kruger, you have a guy who's um, cares about his men, even though he's a Nazi, but they very carefully do not depict him ever heiling Hitler. He's explicitly gets his command because another pretty nice Nazi, a general, is like, they just want to blow up this bridge and as quickly as possible, but I want you to be like my guy who's slow rolling it so that maybe we can get some more of our boys who are out there past the Rhine over this bridge first. And it just keeps building these parallels of how they're caught in their in different ways in their mutual systems of control, right? And in conclusion, is this movie a myth of the clean Wehrmacht film? Discuss. Thanks.
I don't know what that means. I was gonna do more clarification of Kruger. What is the clear man fact? Whatever you just said.
It's it's a codification of what you were saying earlier about revisionism, the role of Germans, and it's easy to look up. It's got a Wikipedia article and everything.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
the archetypical example is usually Rommel.
Yeah.
Which is like, he wasn't as bad as the other Nazis. I mean, he supported.
He didn't join the Nazi Party. He wanted to kill Hitler eventually, after he had materially supported the Nazi takeover of much of the fucking Earth for years.
And was aware of the concentration camps and stuff, almost certainly. And yeah.
But he was a gentleman tank commander of the desert. There was basically World War II ends. The US and the UK are fucking terrified of war with Russia. So what we need to do, with obviously the complicity of the existing former command, non-explicitly Nazi former command of commanders in the Wehrmacht, which is like all of the German armed forces, they needed to whitewash any complicity that non-Nazis had in really big war crimes and genocide and shit. It was something that was consciously orchestrated. It was a huge conspiracy done by government agents to reintegrate German war criminals who had not technically been Nazis back into the military so that they could be rearmed and prepared to face a potential Soviet invasion as quickly as possible. And I couldn't help but think about that while I was watching Robert Vaughn be all fucking torn up by what the system is making him do. Right. Anyway, I've talked for too long. I'm going to mute myself for 37 minutes. Goodbye.
Okay. I wanted to talk about the coding they give Kruger. First off, he is a major, but does not have an Iron Cross, which I found interesting. We have not covered the Iron Cross, the overall Nazi World War II mark of merit. So it's subtly implied he has not gained any favor with them Nazis, or actually seen that much combat outside of whatever unnamed injury he sustained. And he's obviously he's not quite the friend of the guy he meets. He is the son of his friend.
He does have an Iron Cross, unless I'm misreading this. I'm just skipping through.
Oh, I didn't see an Iron Cross on him. He has,
I
he
think
has some
he's
kind of
usually-
he has some kind of ribbon tucked into his jacket.
I think he's usually wearing a jacket over his military thing, but there's a few.
I could
I'm
be
looking
wrong.
for a good
Oh, well.
screenshot. Well,
Another Hinge Problems take. Debusted. He's from a military stock family, so he's probably upper class aristocracy. So, not necessarily old money, but old German, as opposed to the Nazis taking power. Clearly has love for his country, but no love for these for this fascism that's happening.
Yeah, just the good old monarchism, which is
Yeah.
great.
Never been a problem there.
they're down to like a machine gun nest worth of actual soldiers and a bunch of Volkssturmers, obviously all of whom will die if they fight actual soldiers, and two of them go to run away. And he shoots them, thus doing something that's specifically been cited as by a fucking chauffeur earlier. We're shooting our officers at the side of the road. That's when I feel like we're losing this war. Like when he goes over that line and cruelly shoots German citizens who just don't want to go into the meat grinder and die for no reason, that he's kind of shaken and starts listening to his, the German equivalent of your crusty meat and potatoes, Sarge. And he goes to he goes to his death, but he goes to get actual reinforcements if possible.
It'd be wonderful I could remember the name of our buddy from the last movie, but really saw a lot of parallels between getting out of the Philippines and the Nazis holding that tunnel, holding that bridge.
All because Hitler got rid of all the bombs that were originally set there, which is just one of those things when you have an extremely unstable guy who bases all of his grand strategy on a bunch of Western novels he read when he was a kid. Things don't work out in the long run, I guess.
Did y'all know about industrial versus military grade explosives, and industrial were much weaker?
This was the first I'd specifically heard of it. It made sense to me.
Yeah. When it happened in the movie, I was like, okay, I get it. Sure. But no, I didn't know about that ahead of time.
IRL, they also only got half the amount of explosives they were supposed to.
Whoops.
I'm guessing that there's very little historical record that says he specifically delayed it, because straight up, it just kind of sounds like in real life, like they literally did not have the physical means of doing it.
Yeah, it was just a logistics problem.
Classic Nazi management fashion. They were like, you did exactly what we asked for with what we gave you, and you failed. Therefore, it is your fault.
The person that presided over the trials, such as they were of him and like two other guys, committed suicide himself within like 10 days.
Eek.
And
Well, I guess he's a Nazi, so
Hitler didn't last a whole lot longer. So,
but this brought up a theory that I wanted to float to the cast. And I'm sure Chris will at least like this theory, who's been so quiet this far. My theory is Major Kruger is Saving Private Ryan's Tom Hanks of this film.
oh shit.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're not wrong. It's uncomfortable, but you're not wrong.
I mean, I was a little bit deflated to find out that his original command is Captain Schmidt. Straight up does go, before this I was a school teacher.
That
Yeah,
when that
yeah, yeah.
happened, yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
Well, and that wasn't the only like Spielberg tie-in in this movie either. Okay, so I'm on my high horse about Spielberg. They had the doll with the red dress on that the little girl drops when
Especially
she's
because all
running
the
across.
wild footage in it.
Yeah.
But it does state that the real captain who took over command of the bridge was in fact a school teacher. It would become a school teacher after the war.
So anyhow, yeah, Spielberg theory. It like the red dress doll. Like all I could think of when I saw that was Schindler's List. The only part of the movie that is in color is the girl with the red dress.
Spielberg would have never watched a World War II movie.
No.
No way. It's just very funny because I'm like, I really wonder now. I want to be like, so did you like get that from Remagen? Like, is that your thing? Is that where that came from, Steve?
Also, there's a shot of the doll in the water later.
Yep.
After the
Just
bridge gets blown.
Just like you see the girl's body in Schindler's List in the red dress. Yeah.
Speaking of the school teacher thing, I just thought that tied in with the whole. That also, like in the context of the film, I found interesting. Is like, yeah, he's a school teacher, which is supposed to make it less weird that he trained, actual children in guns and murdering people because they were relying on the Hitler Youth for actual military shit in the waning days of the war because most of their soldiers were dead.
Vogue Sturm.
Oh, so he's the reason Rudy died.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He's the reason Rudy failed. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a school teacher, really, not a Nazi. Doesn't that make it less fucked up that I had my school children try to murder you and also ultimately die? Yeah.
I think implied to me ex-Hitler Youth boy chef with the MP40.
Rudy.
Yeah. Who I guess that bit just sort of reinforces my feeling of, everyone's fine. It's just that they have this disease called Hitler. And that's as far as we really need to think about the German complicity with everything surrounding Nazi Germany. Because it's like he's he's a gremlin. He's just got fucking murder in his heart. He's got murder in his heart because he got the Hitler disease.
The system
and
was
if we purge the Hitler disease, then it'll be fine.
Everything was fine. And if you just remove the charismatic leader, the elements that made up that movement aren't a problem at all and don't continue to be a problem afterwards. It was just the single charismatic leader who got into power, appearing to be incompetent and focused a number of right-wing groups and was highly erratic in Germany. And it's also good to know this is the only time it's ever happened, and there's no parallels to any situations that happened later.
So don't worry about any of the former Nazis that we have working for the government. Now they're fine.
They're fine.
Cool.
Here anymore. Look, it's fine. Von Braun is a cool dude. Get over it. He didn't run a concentration camp. It's okay.
Shit, that reminds me. They tried to fucking, after the Allies crossed it, they tried to fucking knock the bridge down with V2 rockets.
Yeah.
They tried to knock it down with everything. Where's that movie? They missed, of course, because you can never hit anything with a V2.
I think we all, or at least most of us, watched that documentary. It's like, boy, there's like a whole nother movie after this movie that they could have made of stuff that happened for the next 3 days.
Yeah, it could have been just a disaster, graining, dirty movie of the army engineers under. Yeah, they don't quite make a big deal about it. Like once the Allies have the bridge, but the documentary at least makes a point of it really sucked to be trying to hold that bridge together.
Yeah.
Well, they built two other.
The idea I had was like in the ending of the film is, the fruitlessness of all war. Look, the bridge fell 5 days later, leaving out the artillery bombing and constant fruitless German ambushes to try and destroy the bridge in the meantime.
The fucking ballistic missiles that were hitting in the town of Remagen because they couldn't actually
Yeah,
hit
because you
anything
can't
what they wanted with them. But
aim a V2. Like you can approximately aim a V2, but when I say approximately, it's like several square miles. You
the,
could be like, oh, it's gonna hit there-ish.
the detail that stuck out for me from what little reading I did, the tracers from all the anti air guns at night would turn just like leave a pink aura in the sky.
Phew.
They used an ME262, like one of, I think it was literally the first widely produced military jet engine aircraft to blow this up. They literally threw everything.
Because Hitler decided to take the bombs away after one of them got knocked down by Allied artillery.
And then it didn't matter because the American supply chain cannot be stopped, and they already had 2 pontoon bridges on either side.
And
Yeah.
it just accelerated the invasion, but it super accelerated the invasion like a lot.
Yeah, you get 8,000 troops over a bridge in 24 hours.
And then they just went back to, I guess we'll use the first plan, which is boats, which we already built because that's what we thought we had to do.
So to talk a little bit about the a little bit more about the actual events here, and how it connects to other things we do when we all get together. Hi, sometimes this podcast is also a video game podcast, and we've been getting together and just casually playing video games for the failed console, the Sega 32X, including one called RBI Baseball, which is just a baseball video game. But the announcer of that baseball video game is Jack Buck. And imagine our surprise when we looked up his Wikipedia page and found out he was in the battalion that attacked the Bridge at Remagen.
The actual one.
Yeah, the real one, not the one in the movie. The real one.
And we're further surprised at finding out the first reporter on the scene at the Bridge at Remagen, which I guess was with the camera crew that took all the beautiful footage of the Bridge at Remagen that we see. Andy Rooney.
Let me tell you, it was a day unlike any other.
Yeah, this is a pretty weird conflation of a bunch of events. This bridge.
Yeah.
I can't believe Andy Rooney was ever alive.
The demise of Adolf Hitler was a good day for the world and a good day for me.
I can't believe Andy Rooney was ever alive outside of that one room that he was always in on 60 Minutes. That's it.
Yeah, like
That never
the
existed.
Rooney chamber.
Yeah.
This
Rooney
was
chamber.
where my mother birthed me. In a
Deep
porcelain
underground.
basin of milk.
Kids these days like going to other rooms, sometimes even outside. That's just not for me. I'm old-fashioned. I stay right here in this room I've lived ever since I appeared at the Battle of Remagen and then never left this room again.
The Andy Rooney story.
Why can't I get a decent sub sandwich anymore? I can't do an Andy Rooney impression.
They just don't make cigarette cases.
Why do Nazis have bridges? I sometimes cross a bridge. Couldn't tell you why. And then they want to blow up this bridge. But they try using a flare gun. Doesn't work. I used a flare gun once. Got out of a sticky situation involving a helicopter.
Thank you for saving this bit, Rudy.
Real kind of D plus. Anyways, this movie has such beautiful little details. Who wanted to figure out the history of Angelo Cigarillos? Where did he get those cigarillos?
That guy.
Dead guy.
Yeah, a dead guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the answer. Is a dead guy. Where did Angelo get anything? A dead guy.
We should take a corner to talk about Angelo.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Talk about Angelo.
He's got a name that invokes angel. He's
called Angel.
Yeah, they just call him Angel half the movie. Yeah.
He has a crucifix, which I think he said he stole.
He did.
From his mother.
From his
From his
mother.
mother.
Yeah. From his mother, that's right. He's an actual Catholic, and he constantly steals fucking everything.
Says he's gonna get out rich.
Yeah. Our boy Phil Hartman. Again, his name is Phil Hartman. What? Tells him like, well, you'll get out rich or dead. And it's like ominous. And of course.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I mean, obviously they have a deep relationship, but it's more coping mechanisms. Like, okay, well, if I'm gonna, like, I think Hartman is trying to make the message that Angelo is unique in doing this, but I think literally everyone's grandpa
Oh yeah.
that's been in war has stolen stuff off a dead guy.
Which, if you want to have a realistic depiction of war, you need somebody who's stealing shit, but also you don't want to say everybody was, so you need to thread the needle with somebody like Angelo.
But also, it does heavily imply that everyone's grandpa would do a sexual assault of a blonde woman in a jail
Ugh.
cell.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it does not really let anyone off the hook there.
Nope.
I think the movie for not letting it go through for just letting us sit in how icky it feels.
Yeah, and like there were James Bond movies that didn't do that were contemporary with this. So it
Oh
wasn't
yeah, James
so it wasn't
Bond
like
rapes pussy galore straight, famously.
Yeah.
so yeah, there like it wasn't impossible. So it wasn't just the movie entirely backing down from that as a thing to back down from. Yeah, it's saying, yeah, this is gross.
None of them are saying no. They're like all of them are saying me first.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of feel like, I don't know. I got the sense that maybe Angel possibly, hopefully, wouldn't actually rape her. But
He was trying to.
if she was like going to do the thing of if you have cigarettes, fine, right? If she was going to do the transactional, I guess that's what's expected of me thing, then he would go along with that. Even though that's still basically rape for all intents and purposes. So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, he would. It just would have been more polite.
Yeah, which I guess is what I'm getting at is like the readings out there and the essays about this movie just display Angelo as less complicated than he is. Like I think he does have more of a moral center than it's implied. But I think also my co-host disagree with me there.
I don't actually think I disagree with that. I think he's a realistic depiction of actual morality, which isn't so much here's a slider of I'm a good person to bad person, but like he has his own mixture of what he considers a limit versus not a limit, which is, as in real world, it's not really cumulative, right?
Yeah.
Like taking something off a dead body doesn't like they're dead. What do they need for it, right? What do they need it for, right?
He's like fundamentally cynical and resentful of like the situation that he's in, but he's still loyal to the people that he is. Like the conflict before they go onto the bridge when they're told, yeah, you have to go out there and try to disconnect explosives when they could blow it at any second, by their CEO. And our lieutenant, Phil Hartman, is being a little listless and blah about it, as he always is about everything before he just does it. Angel is fucking pissed, but all of that pissed off energy is directed at like the captain or whatever. And as soon as the lieutenant says, we like, of course we were always going to do it. Fucking get out there, right? As soon as the lieutenant says does it, he does it.
Oh yeah, Angelo is 100% loyal to Hartman.
I also,
in this sort of beautiful way.
think for the sort of complicating morality of Angelo is that he is one of the first characters in the movie to sort of acknowledge the sort of systemic nature of the war around them. I mean, when we're introduced to him as stealing all the things, one of the first things he says is like, everybody else is getting rich from this war, so I should too. And so like he acknowledges that there's this whole thing going on above them in the war, and he's just this guy on the ground. And I appreciated that. Like it not that it, made anything he does right or anything like that, but it's like he is one of the only ones who's like, yeah, no, this whole system's screwy. I'm just gonna do what I have to do.
So was he just like a company staff sergeant? Is that what he was? Like he was he was the was it uncommissioned officer? He was the one in charge
The
outside of the
non-com?
leadership. Yeah, and the non-com.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's generally the feeling I got for him. I don't think they ever specifically address any rank he has. But
He's the
Chris-
Sizemore.
But he even has that. I mean, this is maybe reading too much in the film of military structure. That he's from the beginning of the film, he is taking orders from Hartman before Hartman's in charge.
yeah,
You
Yeah, he
really get the
definitely-
feeling that the captain that's about to get totally owned by a Jeep has been captain for a day.
Very excited to go on ahead.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
he's very much got the like, I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to do this, and it's like, ooh, buddy.
Maybe he died happy.
Which also tells you something, which also establishes the thing about the movie, which is that this is not a movie where doing a heroic thing is going to work out for you all the time. Like that's important from a film structural standpoint too.
But then that's followed by they stop because this doesn't seem right. We're going to be cautious. And then the fucking CEO decides to take point and drives over a mine. And then their way of approaching this like farmhouse around the bend is they get into a captured German Jeep and drive on up and hope that whoever's watching them doesn't see their uniforms too soon. So they're gunning it in this vehicle while someone's shooting Panzerfaust out of a window at them. And they skid to a stop in front of the front door and throw some grenades in like it's fucking Rambo shit. And it's just like, but they're fucking exhausted. And it's just the job and it's what they do. And they're
Yeah.
obviously not proud of it. And after it, George Siegel's just slumping at the like unfinished meal that the Nazis were having, shoving half-eaten chicken into his mouth. Like,
kept
oh, I'm the
thinking-
CEO now. Okay, fuck you.
I was full of panic during that eating scene, not just because of the mouth sounds, which they didn't mic them, thankfully, but because, dog, you just shot up that table. There's broken glass. You can't eat that bread. The bread's got broken glass in it.
Lead poisoning.
He presumably shut up the table because he just can't eat bread any other way now. He's been
Yeah.
it's
I
the horrors of
only
war.
bullet
I
punctured
can't get
bread.
full unless I showed off.
If a copper
wait a minute.
jacket hasn't gone through this at 2,300 feet per second,
It's
It's
not
just not
even food to
properly-
can't
me.
even swallow. And then at the end, the movie ends with like a bunch of dudes in a hole, like out on their quote unquote bridgehead on the eastern side, waiting for people on the western side to fill in another hole so they can roll tanks across. And then as the fucking tanks are finally coming and the lieutenant thinks Angel is dead and a bunch of other dudes died with him, he like gets
There's
into
only
this
7 boys left.
gets into this dazed stumble up towards the tunnel and the machine gun nest, ignoring that the tanks will be here in a second, and this triumphant music swells on the soundtrack.
Ugh.
And it's pretty good. He triumphantly stumbles up to a bunch of corpses in a ruined machine gun nest.
And finds a tunnel full of injured soldiers and and terrified war refugees who immediately are like, finally, we have someone to surrender to.
Yeah, he finds the Volk not so stern. Like,
The Elmer Bernstein soundtrack is really like the weakest point of this film. And I kept thinking about like if we replace like this would make a good film even better if we replace that with something more low key and stealthy, because it really just feels almost like a farce when it's like bum ba dum bum bum dum da dum dum.
I kind of I liked that. And the reason I like that is because like you've got this contrast of this is supposed to be the heroic final victory where our heroes, triumph, and look at them, they've won. And instead, it's this shell-shocked PTSD dude who thinks that his last friend is dead, just turning up in something that's basically a suicide run, thinking he's probably going to die and not really caring. And yeah, I actually really like the contrast there. I think that's a really clever choice.
I don't feel like it's a choice though. It's just like that's the system of 1969. You're not going to have a low key soundtrack 1969. You're going to always have doom boom 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 boom. Especially if you get Elmer Bernstein, Great Escape, Elmer Bernstein.
I really liked the ironic contrast in that particular scene.
Yeah.
And I barely noticed the music elsewhere, honestly.
I mean, I think if it's not intentional, I think it's very effective in that shot. I was just going like, this is very clever, very cool while I was watching it.
Yeah, no, I think at the end it worked. The rest of the movie, the soundtrack didn't necessarily work as much for me.
Yeah,
but it was kind of there as almost a build up to that ending punchline, even if it's not necessarily intended as such. But yeah, the rest of the movie where it's just a and it's just like, dudes, like, no, this isn't what we need here. But then at the end, it kind of paid off a bit, I think.
Well, because the film is constant grind and misery, and then the soundtrack is hooray, we're going to war, time to do some war, bum ba dum ba dum.
Yeah, which is why like
and then it's close up on George Siegel's face, going, oh god, not again.
That's the thing, is if we could change the soundtrack the rest of the movie, and then just kind of have the bum ba dum, we're going to war in when he's doing the suicide walk, that would make it a lot more clear as like an irony thing there, because the rest of the movie just kind of felt like are they soundtracking the same movie that I'm watching? Because I just feel like they pulled off like war movie soundtrack and just kind of slotted it in here and weren't really paying attention to the movie they were making.
Elmore is busy, okay?
Yeah,
he has a lot of
guy.
movies to work on. Only so many hours in the day.
I'll just type in bum bum, boop, there we go.
Yeah.
Give
me some snare drum doing the
Oh god.
We're good.
I mean, how much of this film feels like 1969 to my friends? I mean, outside of like I especially comparing this with like say Call of Duty World War II, which the last mission is the Bridge at Remagen, and how they talk in that movie, how they talk in that video game. And like, oh yeah, no, this is how Grandpa talked. He did not talk like Saving Private Ryan. They probably just all thought like this sort of grumpiness felt more honest than the grumpiness we saw in our first film in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, the only thing that didn't feel honest is like all these movies, they can't say fuck as often as they definitely fucking did.
Yeah, that is kind of hilarious. How like wait, they're not swearing at all, and like those dudes had some, like, I guarantee you Angelo in real life swore constantly, like was just a never-ending torrent of real swears. Not that Angelo was a real person, but you know what I mean.
I think the real Angelo would be trying to butch up to extreme degrees around most of those dudes.
Yes.
No, that's right. I've got theories about Angelo. I'm writing my fanfic even now. Alighting certain parts of the canon.
Speaking of fanfic, at our last cast, you said you had said a sentence that you said had never been said in the English language. George Siegel is pure sex, and I gotta say, actually, in this film, pretty hot dude. Like looking at him.
Yeah. He's got a thing or two going for him.
Not a bad guy.
If you grew up just knowing him as like dads in sitcoms, there's some surprises in store for you if you watch The Bridge at Remagen.
Really amazing eye work.
I swear I thought that this is probably just me. It's probably just me. I swear, like, there were a few times in their intro scene where I thought he and Ben Gazzara were going to kiss.
Yes. Like, fully am willing to grant that. There was a lot of like, okay, like, it's all right, guys. You can. I mean, I know it's 1969, so I'm not gonna let you do this in the movie, but we know it's there. It's okay.
Strong From Here to Eternity vibes. I gotta call you a fucking asshole because I can't say what I really think.
You're a pig.
Fucking chain of command. chasing chickens around.
Oh, I rewatching the film. I love that moment. It's like it's filled with terror that will pay off later. But him going, I think we should check out the barn, and it's just because there's a bunch of chickens in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when he says that, you're like, uh-oh. And then it's like, wait, oh, okay.
Oh,
But that-
everyone's just full frame 17 guys chasing chickens around.
Yeah, just
Good.
running around chasing chickens.
And then we have a little moment where the young kid who's going to die to demonstrate that war is hell, and young kids die and has no function in the movie other than to be a young kid, and then die to demonstrate that young kids die in the war. It has a scene where he's scared.
Yeah.
That was sometimes it hits you like that, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it
I
hits you like
really, I did really like how they played that moment, though.
Yeah, it was a good moment.
Just- Nobody can see me here. I'm just going to be quiet for a while. Oh, shit, the lieutenant's there.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm good. I'm
And it
fine.
also establishes that the lieutenant is basically going like, yeah, stuff is it's pretty hard right now.
If there's nothing else on your notes, the only other note I have that I feel like mentioning, because it's also in the trailer for some reason, is they absolutely killed a horse.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, that one horse on the bridge. Yeah.
They absolutely 100% killed a horse.
Yeah,
When
it's a very brief shot, Tigress, but there's one of the parts where the bridge sort of gets blown up a little bit. There's
During
a
the
horse.
bombing.
Yeah, during the bombing. There's a horse on it, and that horse just falls off that bridge. It is not not safe.
It might have survived. It's
Might have.
fallen into water. But
Yeah.
It doesn't. Prognosis questionable.
Yeah.
Not good. But not nearly as bad as probably. I mean, they did the same thing in The Wild Bunch, which a certain essay notified me was released in the same year. But there's like 17 horses.
When bombing the bridge, that would be a really good moment for Tigress to have a moment of pedantry.
Oh, shit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Whoa, spoilers.
Yeah, I was doing research on it, and I asked a plane expert I know, because like it looked like they had some kind of freaking jet planes bomb this thing, and the expert I consulted informed me that no, it's just because of the low quality of the footage that you can't see the prop planes. They have prop planes, and the actual problem with that is they were B-25 Mitchells, which were never used by the Americans in the European theater. They would have only been used by the British and other European Allied forces. That's right.
Wow.
They wouldn't have used those planes to bomb it at all.
Fucking
Wow.
cinema sin.
Yeah, this is worse than them using Czechoslovakian tanks.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow, Bridge At Remagen, take that bullshit.
Oh, wait. I just,
What?
you know what? Many of the characters, including Lieutenant Phil Hartman, are carrying M1 carbines in this film, and they are frequently seen. Person he's based on carried one, but it makes sense. They're like an armored division. If an officer is carrying around a rifle, the M1 carbine is likely to have been the rifle they carried. It's late in the war, sure, okay. But frequently, I believe in our lead's rifle, basically always, he has loaded a curved 30-round magazine, when at the time, the only available magazines were straight 20-round mags. So fucking cinema sinned. This movie is garbage.
Take your 28 taxis
Trash.
and get out of Czechoslovakia.
I'm glad you had to flee the Soviets.
Glad you stayed behind to get B-roll, director. They did a really good job of all the location comping that I couldn't really notice. And when you look at the bridge and you look at the real bridge, like that looks like the real bridge.
Yeah, and like a lot of the nearby town, I mean, obviously it's been rebuilt subsequently, but the landscape around there looks like the landscape at actual Remagen when I checked it on Google Maps.
Yeah, it is
big cliff.
Yeah, it's a comp shot in the bell tower in the movie, but then you see the actual church that was actually on the hill, and they shot from the church, and like, what the hell?
It's pretty wild. It's just like, this is extremely accurate considering it was nowhere near the actual events of the film.
Reading about the actual text, I was disappointed that they didn't do anything other than mentioning them in dialogue. They didn't do anything with the like tower fortifications. But I'm assuming they were probably fucking paper mache or something for the purpose of the production. So, oh well. They're just there.
Those are the only part of the original bridge that's still standing.
Mhm.
And yeah, they're obviously like shattered by time and probably the remains of bombs, but they look pretty much like the towers that are actually there in actual Remagen.
Why the hell don't you admit it? You don't like riding point.
I don't like riding point.
All right. I'm gonna ride point.
So, we have to come up with a review metric for every movie that we do from 1 to 5. The obvious choice for this would be the cigarette case that is focused on so much throughout the entire movie. But I didn't want to go with the obvious choice. I wanted to go with the thing that stuck out to me as an arbitrary, strange detail that happens in one shot of the movie that I saw and I paused and I rewound to see again. And that is a rainbow over the battle.
Oh yeah.
Shit, I remembered that. I remember like going, "Oh shit, a rainbow." So
I can't believe they
fucking-
killed. I can't believe they killed an angel in the. They killed an angel. Yeah, they killed an angel. They killed Angel.
They killed Angel. Oh no.
Oh no.
Cool Angel.
And
Dead.
mostly, it stuck out to me as like, "Oh yeah, this is why you shoot things in camera because accidents like this can happen."
Yeah, and it's a beautiful accident, and it's just no one says shit about it. It's there for like a second, but it is a rainbow. There's a great shot of the tanks from the American tanks shooting over the river, and there's just a rainbow going across the river, and it's like, oh wow, there it is. So I decided that that's how we will score the movie on a score of 1 to 5 rainbows over Remagen. I'm gonna give this movie. I hadn't even really thought about it. I'll go with 4 rainbows over Remagen. I really enjoyed how the movie was shot. I enjoyed just looking at the movie. Like the camera work in the movie is really, really good to watch. I enjoyed a lot of the characters themselves on both sides. I did not enjoy, as Shrug sort of got to earlier, the sort of scrubbing of the Nazi morality a little bit stuck out a lot as I was watching the movie, and just kept sticking out. Like they're trying to make this guy into like a good guy, but he's a Nazi. But that being said, I think it did a pretty good job of showing kind of the realization of what was going on the Nazi side, and kind of the ways that different levels of the Nazi military were dealing with that, of like, yeah, we're losing this war. This war is done. So I thought that was good, but they did a little bit too much of the like, well, it's just Hitler who's the bad guy, not all the Germans. And so that would be why I possibly knocked down 1 rainbow off of it. But otherwise, it was a really solid movie. Felt so good to watch this after MacArthur. Oh my gosh. Like, having made it through MacArthur, I was wondering if we were ever going to have a war movie that I wanted to watch again. And so it was very nice to have this as the follow-up. And so, yeah, I'll go with 4 rainbows out of 5. I'm going to pick on Tigress. Let's get your review.
Yeah, I was excited. Rudy promised a meat and potatoes war movie going into this, and this was a very meaty and potatoey war film. Whole film just has a great crunch to it. Like everything feels kinetic. The pacing is perfect. Just absolutely moving at like a great clip from the start of the movie. It establishes all the characters perfectly. It has just the right notes of like downtime versus uptime. Like it's just such a it's just really 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 well executed in every single way. Lots of really like characters who are pretty simple but well defined and play off each other really well and create interesting situations and when they and play off each other well, right? They play off the situations really well. And just so many amazing shots in this movie. It's very kinetic action scenes. Yeah, it's just really 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 solid. It like I don't this is not a criticism, but it's like for as much as it is like, it does contemplate stuff, it's mostly a character piece. I don't and there's the statement that, war sucks, which is a pretty common one. I liked it a lot though, and I think this is a real solid meat and potatoey for rainbows. Like I can imagine liking a movie more than this, but damn, is this a really really tasty meat and potato stew of a movie. And I just want to know, what kind of meat and potatoey stew do you like, Shrug?
I'm a simple shrug with simple tastes. And my taste buds want Ben Gazzara and George Siegel to kiss. By which I mean, this is a very immediate and visceral film for its time, within the limits that one might expect, the kind of slack that you kind of have to give it, given the era. As Tigress said, it's very well paced. It is mostly following some very charismatic actors who just kind of do their thing and deal with shit. I'd like a war movie that is about war as a system, or war as a machine that forces people between its dies, etc. And I really like the half of the movie that is George Siegel et al. Being extremely tired, really not wanting to do shit, but they have to, so they do it. And then I'm not actually gonna say you can take your commendation and stuff, but you can tell from my reaction that that's it. Love that part. Very good. But the whole time I was kind of distracted by the shadings of Robert Vaughn as not totally a Nazi, and the way that it ends on George Siegel, Lieutenant Phil Hartman, has picked up the gold cigarette case that Major Kruger dropped on the bridge at one point, and then Kruger's underling, who is an ex-school teacher, says, "Where did you get that?" And he says, "From a friend." This is the guy that's been insisting the whole movie that he has no friends and he can't make friends, the isolation of command. And it just sort of hammers home that whole parallel harder, and really, really tells me that I should feel the same about these two characters, but one of them's a Nazi. And it kind of soured the moment for me. It's still good, and I don't know that it was consciously trying to do the whole clean Wehrmacht thing. I think it's mostly just a product of that particular narrative taking hold in fiction, right? It's like at the end of 2 decades of that shit already. But if you're not like me, and you don't suffer from my very specific neuroses, I probably think it was a solid 4 out of 5 rainbows over Remagen. I'll give it a 3.5 rainbows over Remagen. I'll always pronounce Remagen differently every time. I will not apologize to any of my great-grandparents that came over from Germany. Suck it, dead relatives. And with that, I ask Rudy, how does it feel to give up rainbows like you do?
Oh, well, I'm going to give it big rainbows. I'm going to give this the full 5 rainbows. because as I was listening to your reviews, I was probably going to start this with four rainbows over Remagen. But what do I want from a war movie? What does this movie have from a war movie that I don't like? What is it missing? I don't think it's missing anything. It has good, complex characters. It has great action. It has bigger than you expected explosives. I mean, I do want to dock it for, killing a horse, but it's the 60s and they're making World War II films. And sometimes horses have to die. But it should also be noted they totally killed that horse. It does not depict, as much as my co-hosts think it's trying to whitewash one German officer, it is also dirtying up Grandpa. It's not showing Grandpa in the best light either for the American perspective. All the characters are complex. The action is great. It looks beautiful. You just follow it through. You sit down and enjoy it. And it's also not a film that I had heard of until I'd heard of it. And it seems like it should be one of the greats. Like, it should be like one of the ones that everyone talks about. But I think it's because it is too morally complex, as Tiger said, that it has moral depth, that decisions are made. And it's not just like everyone makes one decision based off their assigned morality. Like, there's a constant reevaluation of who everyone involved is. So it gets 5 beautiful bridges over Remagen.
5 incredible scores.
Incredible scores. 5 scores.
5 scores.
5 scores.
5 of the largest scores you've ever beheld.
If you want to hear the 5th score from our secret cast member, just
The one we edit out I edit out of every episode.
some people have secret episodes that they hide behind a paywall. We have a whole host.
We have a whole host. If you send us money, send us. I don't know. We'll go.
Yeah,
Email $50 to Hinge Problems
At gmail.com. We will let you hear the cast with the secret member.
That's actually a really great.
That would be amazing. Like, if we were pulling that off.
Yeah. We just
We are
just
totally
a whole,
pulling that off. By the way,
we just drop an audio. We just drop an audio from the redacted host, whose name we dare not speak unless you back our Patreon.
Were we to speak their name, you would be compelled, as if by violent threats, to drop $50 at hingeproblems@gmail.com. We are too ethical to do this.
We will not drop that name. We will bleep out any mention of that name possible.
So clearly that's our listeners guy.
That's
But,
right,
Tiger's-
it's B. Arthur. Back
Oh,
from the
no.
grave.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tigers, who is your guy? Obviously, we try to find a guy that embodies something about our character, something about our identity, or just someone who stuck out to us. Like, for each of us, someone who gave to us.
In my case, my guy's a gal.
Oh,
My gal is the maid who, when the German commanding officer comes in to go to the hotel, it's like, hey, yeah, you're gonna drum up a lot of Hitler Youth for me, right? You're gonna do that, right? And you're not just gonna run away, and you're not just gonna hide all your valuables and immediately run away from the Americans. Like, of course I'm not. I'm not gonna surrender. And then the maid pops out, and she's like, oh yeah, I got all the white sheet ready, just like you asked me for.
That's some great comedic timing she has.
That was perfect, and I loved
what
that.
happened?
Maid.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
That's why the guy was like, you shut the hell up. I don't want to get shot.
What a good film. It's a good film.
Yeah. That was just, it was a great little moment. And I also just loved the whole drama with those characters because it doesn't super go anywhere, but it's just got this little snivelly guy who isn't even like surrendering because he likes the Americans better, just that he knows which ways the wind is blowing. And he'll do anything to get out of the war with his with his valuables. But the maid, yeah, she's just emblematic of that great little sequence, and she's my guy. It does make me wonder who Rudy's guy is, though.
Oh, my guy. I had a few guys. Like, kind of want to choose the ducks from the farmhouse. They don't eat the ducks, and it caught my eye in the rewatch last night to look at. Oh yeah, that's what ducks do when there's a bunch of firefights, and they ignore the ducks that are in the farmyard to go get those chickens. But no, I think my guy has to be someone we don't see on screen, but when the Allied general is giving, yes, no,
Wow, Rudy.
my guy will never be Hitler. When the Allied general is giving orders and then he tells Barnes, "Can your men do it?" And Barnes goes, "Yeah, of course my guys can do it." And he like gives this look off screen. He's like looks directly at someone else, and like Barnes going, "Of course my man can do it," and him looking at the other guy and just like my image of being the other guy and just like going, oh, "Fuck you, man." just
Just the guy who he looks at is just like, no, what the fuck you doing volunteering us for this shit? No,
not volunteer, but one of the other commanders.
Oh,
like, because
yeah.
Barnes is just giving stink, like, "Oh, my guys are the best. My guys are the best. My guys will do it."
Yeah.
Because Barnes has no friends, and he's just such a fucking middle manager asshole that he sucks the boots of the people above him, and is just like, "Hey, buddy, you got to go do your thing. Come on, do your thing." You know, it was really hard. Like, no one likes him, and I like the other middle managers also don't like him because he's such a stuck up. It's worth rewatching just to see like Barnes like directly looks at someone else to go, "Look, I'm doing a good job for the general," and you just know the other guy's going, "Shut the fuck up, you asshole."
That's why MacArthur was great, because unlike Barnes, he led from the front.
Yeah.
Unwanted citations from Barnes would be a good alternate.
Would have been a good scoring metric.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I guarantee I'll give your man the citation of merit.
Apparently, it was one of the. That actually was only one of the only units in World War II that got a citation for an entire unit. That actually is kind of significant.
But they also clearly don't care about it.
Yeah.
Like, they say, "Oh, I'll get your units."
That's
do. Yeah.
Yeah, what they really want is a week off.
Yeah. You give me a unit citation. Well, I might get a bullet in the chest, so I'm kind of cool not getting that.
Just a single night's sleep, probably.
Yeah, that'd be cool at least. Like, yeah,
just some time off the front. You know, we're all. But Chris, who was your guy?
Well, speaking of needing a single night's sleep, my guy, at a certain point in the movie, Hartman wants to go to the comms guy and have him radio over something to somebody, and he walks over to the comms guy, and the comms guy is just clearly passed out in the back of a Jeep, just totally asleep, and he wakes him up, and he gets pissed off at him, and he's like, "Yeah, you got to tell him this," and he yells at me, he says, "Murray, tell them this thing." And so Murray's my guy, because Murray was the guy who's just like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm sleeping right now. Don't care what's going on. I'm going to pass out right now." And so, yeah, Murray was my guy for his resourcefulness in grabbing that shut-eye whenever he could, apparently even in the middle of things going on. So, on that note, Shrug, who's your guy?
I'm last, so I'm free to cite a runner-up. They're my runner-up because they are a Nazi, and I would rather not have my guy be a Nazi. But the guy who's in the window of a farmhouse shooting Panzerfausts at a Jeep, but apparently not bothering to tell anyone downstairs why or what's going on, because they roll up to that place and they throw their grenades and they get into the courtyard, and just then everybody starts fucking dominoing into the courtyard. Like, wait, something's up. Like, that dude. Like,
does that dude just fire off that gun just spontaneously so often that they're all just used to it and don't even register anymore?
They got a crate of fucking anti-tank weapons and they don't care anymore or something. Yeah, he's shooting at the stray ducks again. Whatever. Runner-up guy, My
It's
my
too-
official non-Nazi actual guy is the guy who's loading the machine guns in the back of like a half track,
Oh yeah.
and the lieutenant, couple of pigs back there, I believe is the slang. And the lieutenant gets up and looks at one, and he closes the lid on it. I don't remember the actual name of that part. Oh no. Anyway, and then he racks it, and then he points it at the guy and presses the button, and it just goes click, which I assume is to like upgrade him for not loading it correctly, because it should have been a link to the right or whatever, so it was ready to fire. That's my guy, the guy that didn't load a machine gun quite right and got chewed out for it. Because I just know that guy is like, I hadn't closed it yet. I was gonna fix it after I closed. I was gonna double check it before I closed it. It would have been fine, Lieutenant. I can't fucking believe all this shit. I know that guy. That's my guy. Bad machine gun loader.
I'd like to mention a runner-up guy as well, just because he drew the attention of so many of us when we were watching this movie. The member of the American troops, I don't know if he ever even gets a name, but he just looks like Carl Urban. The entire time he's around, he is just Carl Urban. He's in the background a couple times, he says a couple lines, and it's really weird because Carl Urban was like maybe not alive when this was made, or like was like 6 or something. I didn't look up his age. But yeah.
Just a generally really modern looking guy.
Yeah, he sticks out really hard. It's very strange.
Carl Urban was -3 years old when
There we
this
go.
film was filmed. It's also strange because Carl Urban really just disappears into his roles. So somebody appearing like playing Carl Urban is really turning movies on its head, I feel like.
To put the helmet back on, Carl Urban.
Final thing we do on this cast is we choose our next film, which is with a beautiful D20. So
A big black
who's got it?
D20 like I'm wearing right now?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
I got one right here.
All right.
So what we do is we're going to roll this D20. We each have a film as Tigris prepares the dice. We actually have 5 films ready to go. We are on 2 World War II movies. Next time we get a third World War II movie, we're going to have to all recalculate our list to remove World War II movies so that we can get out of the war and into a different pair of war pants.
It's like it's one of the biggest military conflict. I think the biggest military conflict in history or something.
Yeah. But
anyway,
what's the deal with making World War Okay.
What's the deal?
8. I think that's one of mine.
Yeah. That's a Tigris.
Gundam Thunderbolt.
Which one?
Gundam Thunderbolt.
Gundam Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
That is not World War II.
Yeah,
No,
that
it's
is
definitely not.
very in space. Thank God that they technically turned that miniseries into a movie, so it squeaked on by. Gundam is a franchise near and dear to my heart, and part of it is it's legitimately, at its best, an actual war franchise. Gundam, the TV series, is like 300 fucking episodes long, and we obviously can't do that. And for various reasons, the compilation films, to me, don't really do a good job of doing what the TV show does well. That being said, there was a short manga that got adapted into a web series that got adapted into a theatrically released film called Gundam Thunderbolt, which is really, really, really good. Which is about a unit of Zeon that's ostensibly the bad guys at Gundam, who are part of a unit that of disabled soldiers who all lost body parts because of combat injuries. So they were viewed as not useful. So they're being used in sort of an experimental program, but not like a super soldier program, more like like cybernetic implants to directly control the mechs. That's not as important, but the important thing is they are now being menaced by a Gundam. The Gundam is kind of the antagonist in this one, and it is a terrifying weapon of destruction that is attacking essentially our main characters who are all using uncool grunt mechs for most of the thing. And of course, they're still very cool because they're giant robots. I watched the miniseries and I loved it, and it was very emotionally impactful for me. And I'm hoping that the movie adaptation will do the same for everyone else.
Notice, like, how long was the miniseries? And like, were we talking like 620 minutes? And then this is a 100-minute film.
I mean, it's literally it's literally like this. I think it was like 15 minutes episodes. It was like maybe 4 episodes. I forget the exact length. It's really short. They probably just
December
squished them
Sky?
all into a movie.
Mobile Suit
Yeah.
Gundam Thunderbolt December Sky. It's an hour 30.
Yeah, it's an hour 30. Yeah.
Okay, there is another Gundam Thunderbolt movie.
Yeah, but this I didn't actually watch the second season, and I thought the first season ended on a really good note. So
Okay, so it's one of these.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure which one.
Yeah.
70 minutes. Oh, baby, thank you. What a
Yeah,
pleasant
no.
afternoon I'm gonna have.
my movies are all the movies. Most of the movies on my list are the problem with their running times is some of them might be too short. Not the other way around. So
I'm just so relieved that it didn't come up 2. Wait, no, I'm just so relieved it didn't come up 3.
Didn't come up 3. That's the constant worry is when we get a 3 and we have to re-roll.
Oh,
I like living under this cloud.
it's hanging out there waiting for you, Shrug.
And then I'm gonna have to do triage of okay, what do I actually think I have to read?
but yeah, no. I'm really looking forward to forcing everyone to watch a Gundam movie. So
Well, next time it's a Gundam.
it's a
It's
Gundam.
a Gundam.
It's Gundam.
For me being Rudy, for there being Chris, for Tigris also being a Gundam, and for Shrug being a big Zam.
Ah,
This has been Hinge Problems War Movies and Shoot the Hinges.
Shoot the hinges.
it's the fucking hinges.
Shoot him.
How? Blam.
Boom. Kaboom.
Pew pew.
We have industrial grade
pew.
explosives.
Pop, pop.
The MG42s in the movie don't have the right sound effects. CinemaSin.
Pop, pop, pop,
Tell
pop.
IMDb you can't shoot. The hinges can't be shot with an MG42 that has the wrong sound effect.
So, where's
was-
Tigris at the end?
I'm the industrial grade explosives.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Hell yeah. All right. Boom.
Leave that
Baba
in.
boom.
Leave that one in.
Official new name for Tigris is industrial explosives.
All right. Well, I got my Flophouse style outtake at the end.
Would the plural of Carl Urban be Carl's Urbans?
It'd be Hardee's. Actually, it'd be Hardee's.
Yeah, it'd be Hardee's.
Totally starring war movie.